the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Another celebrity testified today in the federal sex trafficking trial.
What motivated Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, who is well known for his witty social media barbs at Diddy, to look so determined in the courtroom with Sean Combs? I've come to reveal what was inside the black bag he brought that caught everyone's attention today, putting aside public feuds and entering a legal field where every statement has significant weight. The reality is that as 50 Cent set the luggage on the table, the courtroom became silent. He didn't say anything, and his serene eyes took the place of his customary defiance, as though he had come to end a chapter. It had taken much too long. The people in the room, including the jurors, reporters, and others, looked at each other, some intrigued, some tense. But everyone knew that the luggage was more than just an item. It was the key to a crucial secret when the trial came to an end. Among flashing cameras and whispers, a brief moment occurred when a discreet woman caressed his arm softly. Their brief but intense handshake was filled with implying that she quickly withdrew into the shadows, leaving a mystery about their link behind. Unsolved riddles silently awaited their revealing this morning at the Sean Diddy Combs trial. At the federal courtroom in Manhattan continued to get a lot of media interest, and public security was strengthened early on, with a large queue of reporters. Before the session started, there was a queue outside and a few spectators watched from a distance inside the courtroom. The mood was serious, and the defendant, Mr. Collins, was the center of attention. Sat silently with his defense lawyers at his side as he faced federal prosecutors today in a hearing that focused on counts of prostitute trafficking, racketeering, and transportation. Prosecutors highlighted that the additional evidence, which included papers, audio recordings, and linked witness testimony, was part of a year-long investigation. As the trial continues, the presiding judge has maintained strict order, and the 12 members of the jury sat in a row, most of them wearing anxious looks as they listened intently and made notes. The courtroom door slid wide on its hinges, making a piercing creaking, sound that broke the stillness and directed everyone's attention to the back curtain. This was done to make sure all parties followed the proceedings' timetable. No longer the rapper renowned for his scathing Instagram postings or insults at drink champions, 50 Cent Jackson entered his demeanor with a calm yet dominating presence. Today, 50 Cent stood like a fighter. He entered the last stadium wearing a fitted charcoal suit, a jet black tie, and a sleek black bag that seemed to be carrying 10 years' worth of secrets. Timber floor reverberated slowly, indicating that a crucial moment was about to occur. They glanced at it as if the criminals could be trying to understand the gravity of this. Sean Diddy Combs, the entrepreneur behind Bad Boy Records, emerged as a symbol of success influencing hip-hop in the early 21st century when it was a battlefield of power and prestige. Society with #1 songs and an opulent lifestyle. Whereas Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, who survived 9 bullets, was a street-hardened fighter driven by an unwavering will and a desire to ascend to the top. Their animosity began with a little argument but grew worse over time as 50 Cent claimed to have ghostwritten the lyrics of GDP's Let's Get It Without Credit, diss tracks, public taunts, and the startling claim that Diddy may be aware of the identity of the person responsible for Notorious Big's 1997 death, turned their friendship into a never-ending conflict by 2014, intensified as 50 Cent's effing vodka and Diddy's Ciroc battled, signifying their intense rivalry. But these public altercations were only the tip of the iceberg given 50 Cent's keen intuition to feel that something is missing from Diddy's empire. His comments, which were previously written off as fair or motivated by personal jealousy, suddenly show a shocking presence in the trial environment. I am aware of what's happening with Puffy. The last thing I saw was a man there who said, "Yo, he pushed me into the truck, it really hurt." You're not really tuned in, but sort of me, like he kind of me. I was like, yo, look. 50 Cent's arrival caused a stir right away in the courtroom, causing Diddy's legal team, led by lawyer Mark, to Nephilo leaped to their feet, and their piercing voice sliced through the air. Your Honor, this is a purposeful disturbance, and Mr. Jackson has no legal authority to step in. We demand that he be taken out at once. Once, as if to emphasize that his presence compromised the fairness of the trial, Nefo pointed at 50 Cent with his fist clenched and his eyes blazing with wrath. But 50 Cent remained unfazed, his gaze fixed. The Judge Mr. Jackson was an elderly man with silver-rimmed glasses and an enigmatic face. He spoke in a low but commanding tone, asking why he was there and what was in the luggage. The room went quiet, and everyone's eyes were fixed on 50 Cent and Diddy at the defendant's table. Diddy clutched the armrests, his face alternating between agitation and discomfort for years. Recognized 50 Cent as a provocateur who stirred up controversy on social media. But the man in front of him now wasn't grinning or making gestures. Instead, he was a real enemy carrying something that might change Your Honor. I'm not here to disturb. I'm here to reveal the truth. This suitcase contains evidence I've gathered over the course of the trial, 50 Cent said in a calm, piercing voice. His voice was strained and higher than normal as he quickly objected, saying, "If justice is the goal, what I've brought deserves to be examined agnophile. This is absurd. Mr. Jackson is a rapper and not a witness, and his testimony may be made up to harm my client. We demand that it be rejected right once." Xavier, another of Diddy's lawyers. Nodding in agreement, Donaldson quickly flipped through documents as though looking for a legal defense to halt 50 Cent. But the judge raised a hand and shouted, "Silence enough!" He glanced at 50 Cent and nodded openly. "I will assess what Mr. Jackson has brought. If it lacks substance, it will be dismissed. If it is relevant, we must hear it," he said, casting a penetrating stare across the legal team. The courtroom's silence was broken by the piercing click of the suitcase's locks. 50 Cent calmly and deliberately unzipped the top, showing 3 items. A hefty document with a red stamp on it, with a battered leather notepad and a weathered old phone. The crowd held its breath as a jury involuntarily moved forward and fixed his eyes on the reporter's bag in the rear. Cent held up the notification, which was written in a gentle pen shake on the page. The testimony refers to the defendant's reduced ability to construct the mens rea necessary to perform the accused offenses. He showed the judge the phone, which belonged to Diddy's former assistant. He said that his voice company had recovered material from private parties, including encrypted chats and movies. Confirmed by independent digital specialists and supports Cassie Venture's claims, Agnifilo protested right away, "Your Honor. This evidence is unverified and lacks a clear chain of proof of possession to confirm the phone's provenance." But 50 Cent didn't let Diddy's attorney stop him. He maintained his cool-headed but sharp tone. "I recruited a separate team of digital when 50 Cent gestured. A picture flashed onto the screen. The film was choppy and blurry, but it was definitely Diddy. Experts recovered the data, and their report is in the dossier. Listen to a recording of a hard song while sitting in a darkly lit room with young people, some of whom seemed to be underage, and whose faces matched those of prospective victims, named in Cassie Venture's indictment." The courtroom went silent as background music and a man's slurred speech were mixed together. One juror covered her mouth and her eyes showed signs of discomfort, while Dodie lowered his head. Agnifilo sprang to his feet, clutching his water glass so firmly that it creaked. "This is slander. There is no evidence that the prosecutor, a lady with tightly coiled hair, is speaking." Cent opened the notebook, its scribbled pages expanding like a blueprint of an underworld, and he requested voice analysis. If it matches, this will be crucial proof. Each name is presented as representing a party. Some attendees have filed lawsuits, while others have disappeared between the pages. A shredded sheet left a trace of 3 interlocking circles, which is a sign once Donald. Diddy's lawyer interrupted the claims of an underground recruitment network by saying, "These are hazy scrawls. Nothing connects them to my client." Fine Cent said, "I have a copy of the torn page that was sent anonymously after I released the Diddy Do It trailer, and it lists dates and locations that match." A jury, a middle-aged guy, shook his head in response to Cassie Venture's evidence on the freak-off parties. In previous testimony, Cassie had detailed day-song gatherings where she was manipulated and threatened into engaging in sexual activity. The notebook symbols were subsequently found to match places such as the Intercontinental Hotel, where an attack in 2016 was recorded. When 50 Cent eventually removed the hefty dossier from the surveillance tape, he stated that it had a handwritten note that read, "These are from people too afraid to come forward." I just remember the red lights, the music, and his gaze as I sobbed when I arrived home. I was only 17 when the testimony hit a female juror, who dropped her head. Agnifilo tried to respond. "These notes are unsigned," but his shoulders were shaking and it repeated Cassie's story nearly identically, including the red lights, the sensation of entrapment, and the unsaid agony. Agony. Unsubstantiated. They are really made-up tales. They didn't sign them because they were afraid of reprisals, but 50 Cent blasted back his voice, slashing like a razor. I have testimony from other witnesses, such as Daniel Phillip, who attested to the events that took place at those gatherings. The courtroom appeared to become quiet as 50 Cent read the names from the notepad. Initially, Usher Raymond, the 450 Cent remarked in a regretful tone that he was a decent child until he attended Puff's music camp, to which Agnif protested. Each name contained a narrative, a hurt, and a hidden reality. Although there is no hard proof that Mr. Usher has engaged in any wrongdoing, 50 Cent persisted, saying, I have testimony from an unnamed bad boy employee proving Usher was brought into unsuitable incidents support Cassie's allegations that Diddy takes advantage of youthful talent. One of the jurors wrote, they looked from 50 Cent to Diddy. Cassie's claims that Diddy exploited music events to influence up-and-coming artists were supported by this evidence. Fabulous 50 Cent then aired a clip from when Diddy asked Fabulous why he had missed his party in Drink Champs. Fabulous chuckled, but his eyes showed strain. That night on stage, 50 Cent told me, I simply wanted Puff refused to let him go home. The prosecution said, we have a bodyguard's evidence detailing Mr. Combs' identical behavior towards it fits the pattern Cassie described in court for other artists. They're painting a chilling picture, a reporter whispered to a colleague in the rear. Suddenly, 50 Cent mentioned Justin Bieber. A 2009 video purports to show Diddy adopting Justin for 48 hours, and a former assistant's testimony attests to Justin's adoption. He aired the video of Diddy embracing Justin and declaring, "You're mine for the next 48 hours," as he was held in an improper setting for a 15-year-old. Diddy shot 50 Cent, unaffected, said forcefully, "I have testimony from a former assistant." He stood up, slammed his fist on the table, and spoke in a voice brimming with rage. This is slander that exploits old film. Cassie's evidence also shows how Diddy influenced young people by claiming that Justin was kept at a hotel without sleep and exposed to activities that weren't suitable for a 15-year-old. The court judge gazed into Diddy's doubtful eyes and told Mr. Combs to sit down and keep his cool. I'm not going to show it out of respect for the fact that I genuinely think Justin Bieber, Diddy's former bodyguard Gene, claimed to have been instructed to purchase sexual toys and stood watch while Diddy and Jewel entered a room. 50 Cent recalled that Ja Rule replied to him, it's a little strange, so I don't want to come in tonight. Egnapilo protested that there was no proof and that this was hearsay, but 50 Cent said that Gene was prepared to testify, and when 50 Cent eventually brought up YK Osiris, who had a hit before going missing, a jury shook their head as though in shock, which is consistent with Cassie's description of the freak-off parties. He said that it wasn't because of a lack of skill. However, due to fluff, he posted a video of YK Osiris sobbing live on Instagram, and no one can truly understand what I'm going through. Donaldson interrupted, creating emotional conjecture, but 50 Cent said, Cassie mentioned that one of the young musicians sucked by Diddy's whirlpool is YKK. Puff doesn't force, 50 Cent said as he stood upright and stared at the judge. He added, at first he makes you owe him a contract, a trip, and a chance, and when you don't comply, he guilts you. Cassie's testimony, Diddy was reflected in these lines. The story of a personal adversary with whom Mr. Jackson has had a falling out is that he physically tortured her, threatened her with tapes, and controlled her throughout her career. Mr. Jackson's evidence corroborates Cassie Ventura, Daniel Phillip, and Israel Flores' statements, the prosecution said, but this isn't personal, it's a system. As if realizing that the instant 50 Cent came signified a conflict between power and truth, Diddy remained still, his eyes empty. His documents, films, and proof supported Cassie's allegations and sketched a covert criminal network. A stolen document also suggested another giant of the music business connected to Diddy's Web 50. Not as a rapper, Cent departed the courtroom as a messenger of justice, saying, "We'll make you adapt where you select to rest your head." Common reason would dictate, if you don't need the things that are right there, the all eyes were on Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, the man who had just rocked the courtroom with his voice, as the judge's booming voice cut through the tense atmosphere as the Manhattan trial came to an end. A phone with encrypted communications, a notepad with symbols referring to freak-off parties, and a dossier of victim testimony as 50 Cent are all examples of explosive evidence against Sean Diddy Combs. As he left the courthouse, a discreet woman wearing a black coat grasped his hand lightly. It was a silent gesture, but it had deep significance. She swiftly disappeared back into the darkness, leaving a lasting impression. The DIDDY was shocked by her visibility on social media when a reporter identified her as Sarah Chapman, the mother of Chance Combs Diddy's kid, increased as Ace. Rumors grew that Sarah Chapman, a single mother living in peaceful obscurity, was the source of 50 Cent's damaging proof. She always avoided the limelight surrounding. Despite Diddy's family, she harbored a burning desire for Chance, her little daughter, who was growing up under the shadow of her father's powerful influence. She had an innocent grin, but eyes full of unsaid grief after growing up with half-siblings and a complicated family dynamic. And Diddy's controlling presence kept her away from her. From an early age, Chance had eerie recollections of her outbursts, and every time Sarah held him near, she sensed her daughter's loneliness as if every heartbeat told of invisible anxieties. Chance once said, "Mom, I'm scared," in response to the picture of Cassie Ventura leaving the mansion with hurt eyes or the silent tears of Kim Porter, her loving stepmother, following tense fights. Shuddering as she described the wrongs she had unintentionally seen, Chance would frequently go to her room, mute and alone, as though attempting to protect herself from suffering, since those memories were like invisible wounds. In their few minutes together, Sarah listened to her daughter's stories of torture and heartbreak, and Chance's innocent yet heartbreaking words stabbed Sarah's heart like a blade. Stories of Kim Porter's hidden anguish, and Cassie's heavy pressures reveal unfairness in Diddy's family. The idea of Chance still being a kid causes a mother's heart to twist in misery. Raised in terror and uncertainty and imprisoned by the sinister secrets of a strong family, Sarah could no longer watch her daughter suffer in that shadow she knew only. Sarah decided to act not for fame because she believed that truth and justice may release Chance from her psychological burdens and provide her a peaceful existence, where her smile would no longer conceal anguish driven by a mother's intense love. Seeking revenge, but Sarah's determination to protect her only kid drove her on a risky quest to obtain proof against Diddy. She covertly contacted former insiders, bodyguards, managers, and close employees who had seen his dubious activities using her large savings. Sarah spent tens of thousands of dollars to obtain documentation and recordings from these people who, in spite of an old phone with footage from the notorious freak-off parties where Diddy was a guest, was given to her by a former bodyguard out of sympathy or disgust with Diddy. Planned illegal acts. A former manager from Bad Boy Entertainment sent Cassie a leather-bound notebook with pages full of coded notes regarding secret events supporting her claims. Even if Venture's reports of parties at the Intercontinental Hotel were expensive, they were nonetheless elements of the bigger picture of Diddy's wrongdoings that Sarah aimed to. In a whirlpool of desperation and resolve, Sarah turned to Chance, her young daughter, who was troubled by memories of agony. Despite worries regarding her safety, Sarah gently persuaded Chance to help, and Sarah murmured, holding her daughter's hand, "You don't have to be afraid anymore," as they searched for proof. "I need you to be brave for yourself and for others," trembling but anchored by love and trust. Chance concurred, recalling an instance in which she had caught a glimpse of Diddy sneaking frantically into the storage area of the house, a location where he prohibited his kids from coming close. One evening, while Diddy was out, Chance took the key from his office. With her pulse racing, she unlocked the storage door and found an antique safe in the shadows, holding bundles of papers, hard discs with recordings, and another notebook with detailed notes on secret parties. Chance delivered these to her mother with a shaken but determined demeanor, as if, with the help of proof from bodyguards, managers, and, most importantly, Chance's conclusions, Sarah was able to turn over a piece of her own anxiety. She went after 50 Cent, Diddy's ardent opponent, who had long demanded that the music mogul's covert activities be made public at a secret meeting in a dark, deserted cafe. Sarah's taut face was shadowed by the dim light as she gave 50 Cent the phone. The dossier, the notebook, and a brief message for Chance were all pieces of information that validated Chance's distressing recollections and amplified a mother's voice prepared to. The wordless handshake between Sarah and 50 Cent in the courtroom served as a silent symbol of their secret partnership, a connection created out of love and a desire to fight for her kid. Sarah's desire for justice was more than only holding Diddy responsible for the abuses that left Kim Porter Cassie damaged. She also longed for her daughter to live in a world free from frightening memories, free of the fear that seized her every time she walked inside her father's house. Sarah's fight was a mother's unrelenting pursuit of justice for everyone, not just Chance. Those hurt by Diddy's hand were aware that facing a giant like Diddy had serious risks, such as hidden threats or public humiliation. But every look into Chance's eyes strengthened her determination too. Thousands of tweets speculating about Sarah's position as the mysterious mother behind 50 Cent's crusade. Some labeled her the flame in the shadows, erupted after Diddy's press ahead on XA Silent. Force igniting the way to justice, Sarah and 50 Cent's journey went beyond a simple lawsuit. It was evidence of a mother's unwavering love and her desire to fight the odds, to protect her baby. Every piece of information they offered, from shaky footage showing secret parties to accounts of Diddy's manipulation, eroded the wall of silence. The city lights flickered outside Sarah's flat. She encircled his empire and whispered, "I won't let you live in fear anymore." In the midst of the stories and tweets, reality started to emerge like a wind, dispersing the gloom. Sarah, with a mother's heart, battled not just for luck but also for the hope that one day, she in a society where justice is supreme, a daughter would find tranquilly free from previous traumas. The Diddy trial sparked a strong public awakening that went beyond just revealing the dark underbelly of the entertainment business, while simultaneously shedding light on the power of righteousness when supported by individuals who were previously written off as merely enemies. 50 Cent's presence has long been associated with fearless confrontation took on a new dimension this time. Instead of pursuing fame or power, he was motivated by a strong desire to restore justice for those whose voices had been silenced. Quiet promise from the past, and maybe the late awakening of a long-suppressed humanity, overtaken by the spotlight. Of celebrity, 50 Cent doesn't make big announcements, selected each element of silent activity, proof used in every media move with accuracy and intent. He didn't cast himself as a hero, yet his unwavering actions prompted the public to inquire. There are still some decencies in the globe, seemingly guided by maths? Then a new name that seemed unrelated appeared, in rumors from recently disclosed internal documents.